Welcome back, and today we are playing out the IAR-81C, and this is honestly, and I know I say this rather often, one of the weakest performing planes I have ever touched. Now luckily it is at 2.7, so it's actually, well, somewhat flyable because of the BR and the actual matchmaker that you have right here. And most of your enemies are actually somewhat inexperienced, but when it comes to the raw performance, this plane is simply not it. And it comes down to a plethora of things. It's not very fast, it doesn't turn very well, it doesn't accelerate or climb whatsoever. Even if you go into a slight dive, this thing does not pick up speed at all. And it's not very strong at low speed either, and it also overheats quite quickly. Overall, everything is stacked against you, other than of course the guns. However, the guns are quite far apart, which kinda makes it so that you have to run an appropriate convergence on this thing. And that's one of my issues. I run 600 meters without vertical targeting on essentially every plane. It also affects the position of your cursor or your crosshair on the screen, so I like to just not tamper with it. But with a plane like this, you kinda need to, and this is one of my biggest handicaps while playing this thing. It's simply the fact that the guns are not lined up very properly for this kind of gameplay. Luckily for us, we are still going to get 9 kills and a forced crash without having the land. So let's take a look at the gameplay here. Despite it being low tier, it ended up being quite a telling game for a plane or just bad planes in general. So what did we do? We engaged the furball, we went way too quick, we saw someone coming in from another angle and we had to disengage. Now we have this guy flying directly up at us. I just shoot at him, I'm instantly gonna turn all my speed back into altitude, because the longer you hold speed in this thing, the more energy you are going to be wasting. Noticed the MiG-3 a little bit too late. I didn't really notice the number getting closer because of all the other red enemies directly behind him. Luckily it's a MiG-3, so I can actually start turning after getting ample distance, and he is gonna stall out. The MiG-3 is not very good at dogfighting either, so I'm actually able to kind of pull behind him. He is basically stalling out. We are gonna drop the flaps to get a little bit of a boost in the performance here. And we missed the first shot because the flaps down, this thing isn't really responsive anymore, and it kind of turns into a boat. MiG-3 tries to dive away. Here's the Convergence in action, doing absolute fuck all, and luckily we do blow his wing off. I was a little bit on the clock there that MiG-3 needed to die fast because those guys right there were already turning around. Now luckily for us, we have the Yak-1 going back to the base, as well as another of my enemies. And then on our 6 we have a B239, which is basically the Swedish Buffalo. It's slightly better. Making a video on that pretty soon here. I've already gotten the footage, so the guy in the comments that asks every video, you can stop asking. Trust me, it is coming. We now have the MiG-3 on the left hand side as well, but that's the guy we crit earlier in that head-on kind of thing when he was pulling straight up. Try to go into Mach because I'm overheating. Doesn't really work because this engine over revs itself. Noticed that almost instantly. And then also an F4F. Now the F4F is a plane that I'm not scared of even while flying this thing, mainly because we have an absolutely astronomical energy advantage of more than 5 meters, because if the F4F ever has to pull more than 1 degree above the horizon, it will stall out. So 400 meters of altitude with planes like an F4F and an IAR, you're actually pretty solid. And it's basically the equivalent of having 10 kilometers of altitude on any other plane. So we merge with the F4F, we kind of dodge the head-on, then we go straight vertical because we actually have the speed right now, and we bait him into taking it. Now he does take it. Once we go slow enough, we actually drop the flaps. And I mean, it's an F4F, he is gonna accomplish absolutely nothing unless he has an energy advantage. And if he does have an advantage, it actually becomes pretty painful for my plane to kill him. So basically if the roles were reversed, it would have ended in the same way. Just depends on which plane is above which plane. So the F4F gets turned into spare parts. To be honest, the F4F is basically spare parts the second it takes off, but that's besides the point. Now we have 2 planes ahead of us which will slaughter the entire lobby if flown right, and that's why I'm asking my friendly to kind of drag them low as possible. Mainly because I need a bigger advantage than only 3 inches of altitude. 3 inches is a lot, but it's not going to be enough for planes like the P-39N and the Yak-1. Now luckily the P-39 is completely oblivious. He's chasing my teammate, so I'm just able to kind of dive on him, spray him down, and he is instantly in the ground. Now he was climbing for a bit, so he isn't that fast, and he just turns around too early. He basically gives me a super free shot. We get some severe damage in, and I'm not really used to the new damage mechanic, so I actually chased him, and I probably shouldn't have done that. Instead I should have converted all my speed into altitude to then be able to engage the F4U that is directly behind us now. Now he is actually going to turn around, and we are now going to have a little bit of breathing time to actually reassess and reposition ourselves. Now I see the VG going towards the F4U. The F4U is also going to ground pound. I also see the B239 going to ground pound. And now I have this feeling, I think it's better for me to just keep my ground, start climbing, and use the ammo that I have left sparingly. Yes, there's 4 enemies left, and I really need to kill all of them. And I'm hoping that my teammate stays with me, so we can actually do this together. But if I go to land now, it's going to take me a lot of time to get to the base. And then I have to reclimb, I'm heavier on fuel. And overall my performance is going to be even worse. And I have a feeling that all of them are going to be above me. So instead of trying to go RTB, I'm just going to keep climbing. And I'm going to use the position here that I already kind of had, because I was already above them. So we are going to maintain our position. I'm going to start diving slightly to pick a bit of speed up. And you can tell that I'm not accelerating whatsoever. I'm trying to not get too close to the Yak-1. I want him to climb as much as possible. I was expecting the A26 to kind of start spraying at me. Luckily he doesn't. And luckily for us, the Yak-1 is also not that fast. So we can actually abuse his position right here by going horizontal. I'm trying to not go vertical as much as possible until the very last moment here against the Yak-1. He's basically stalled out, so we go up, we drop the flaps, and at super low speeds with the flaps down, it turns okay. But a bit okay, I mean, it's good enough to pull into a shot that you get by stalling people out. So in that sense, it's not a complete boat, and you can punish people if they stall themselves out beneath you. But that's really about the only play you can make. And now I have an A26 as well as a B239 on our right. And I know I'm quicker than the 239, but he climbs a lot better. And if I spend too long in this kind of position, I'm gonna end up dead. So I need to make something happen sooner than later. However, the issue is that he's closing a little bit too quickly, and if I pitch up right now, he's just gonna pitch into me and kill me. So instead, I'm gonna go a little bit to the side, making it so that he has to climb a little bit longer to actually get to us, and thus increasing the energy advantage or the speed difference that we can have once we get into the fight. And that's what I want to maintain. I can maintain this speed and altitude somewhat. He's forced to climb a little bit steeper, and we are going to start diving ever so slightly to pick up a little bit of speed here to make sure that we actually out energy him. So the second I see that I start outrunning him, I'm gonna take my opportunity with both my hands right now, and we are gonna start sucking his balls dry, because that's what I have to do. I'm gonna pull into this head on, I'm gonna make him pitch up for us, and yes, I'm using my flaps a lot, even though I say most of the time that you shouldn't. But right now I need to keep this loop as tight as possible so I can capitalize on the fact that he's about to stall out. If this fight goes on too long, I will run out of energy too. But right now, because I was able to actually get on the 6 by stalling him out, we are now gonna pressure this guy quite a decent amount. We have a decent amount of ammo left. I can use about 30 shells per kill right now because there's 3 people left. I'm trying to get a shot in, but this plane does compress. I can't really neck G. I pull out in time. Unfortunately for him, he gets a child. Congratulations, it's a boy. So he is now dead in the ground, and we can actually engage the A-36. Now, fortunately for us, the A-36 has been just killing IL-2s for the rest of the match, so we were actually able to have a little bit of a 1v1 as he 1v1s bot IL-2. Now we are gonna dive underneath him, because I want him to not be able to get a shot at us, because he has a lot of guns. Now he doesn't take the shot, he doesn't take the head-on, because he can't, and he pulls the wrong direction. So we are able to just pull straight in. We use the flaps a little bit. He probably G-locked or something, he's simply flying straight, but I want you to notice just how hard of a time I'm still having trying to get guns on this guy. Luckily he keeps flying straight, he severs his wing off, and now, I mean, the game is essentially over. All we really need to do is wrap it up and go for the DB3. And I'm giving you a decent example of what you can do in this plane if literally everything goes right. We got some 1v1s, we had an energy advantage, we were fighting bad planes, we were ambushing people that weren't really aware of us, we were winning a 2v2 because they were completely occupied shooting at my teammate. Overall, I didn't really show you any strengths of this plane. All I really showcased was abusing mistakes of your enemies, and that's really all you can do in this thing, because if your enemy doesn't make mistakes, if you are above your enemy and he plays it right, he is going to be able to equalize the energy on you, And once that happens, it is completely game over. Again, you don't have real advantages, and a lot of people have been saying that this thing is absolutely fantastic and you just have to play it right. Well, I'm playing it right here. I mean, the 9-kill game is an exception. It's not the rule, and you will say, well, it's just one cherry-picked game. Here's the game before it, a 3-kill game. And the 3-kill game is still absolutely nothing special. We kill a guy that stalled himself out. We are going to turn around and go head on with the B-18 on our left-hand side instead of the 109 in front of us, because that B-18 is actually a massive threat to us if we end up going slow. So we are going to push head on with him. We are going to have fun with him trading some shots. We dodge the first shots, make it so that he can't really pull into it. We recommit, we shoot at him, we dome him between his eyes, and he goes back to the hangar. And now we have the 109 coming in, and we are only going 400 IAS, which is absolutely nothing. And this is an F model 109. Luckily it's an F2, it doesn't have the best gun. However, the flight performance is still insane. I just lost 100 kilometers an hour in that maneuver, but because I was going so much slower, I ended up basically cutting inside of a loop. And if you want more information on that, I highly advise you to check out the video I made on defensive flying, which goes into it a little bit deeper. But if he was going the same speed, I 100% certainly would have died right there. Now I put this clip at the very end. Normally I use this like in between, but the FPS and everything was just so damn bad. My SSD was almost full, so the clip is a little bit shitty. Keep that in mind. It's not a bug or anything. That this is just me. I had like 10 gigabytes left on my SSD. I cleaned it up, so you know, now it's okay again. So there was the first massive FPS lag. Like, look at this. This is why I put it at the end, but I still wanted to show you, because this is the one time where I died, and I wanted to show you just how pitiful this thing really is. Keep in mind, I am at 2.7, and the enemies that I'm playing against aren't particularly bright. And I'm still gonna struggle quite a decent amount. Now this XF5F is gonna basically pull directly in my guns. I get a little bit of a double kill because we did hit the P29 who compressed into the dirt. But the main thing I want you to look at here is my speed. Yes, I'm gonna misplay it a little bit. Yes, my aim is gonna be absolute doo-doo. And I might have been able to win this if I was actually playing as I'm supposed to and not just suck massive balls today. My speed is just gone. I mean, the F4U is of course a better plane. We do get a hit. He is gonna stall on top of us. And we are now gonna try to dive away a little bit to pick up a little bit of speed. And I want you to take a look at my acceleration here. I'm in a dive, not a very steep one. I'm trying to maintain my altitude a little bit, but I'm trying to get away by diving slightly. And even when I put it into a very steep dive, it doesn't accelerate whatsoever. And even though I don't have any speed, my maneuverability also isn't that high. I'm only pulling 7 or 6 Gs and I lose all my speed instantly. And I mean, at this point I am essentially just empty trap. And I'm not getting out of this. Now I sprayed there and I'm not sure how that missed. As in, yes, I missed, but I'm not sure how I missed it. And we are going 300 again. And I'm forced to turn around because the XF5 is actually catching us. So I try to go head on with him. I'm a little bit suicidal at this point. I can't pull harder than that. I'm not able to pull into that head on. We do the same thing with the Key 44. At this point I'm just in it to get a singular kill, but it's 600 meter convergence with wing mounted guns and its consequences, and I'm just too slow. I can't really do anything and I'm just gonna be picked apart. And that's really all I have for you today. Thank you.